Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson with Reality Shifters and the International Mandela Effect Conference, and you're now listening to Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Hello.
Introducing
Lasers. Hello.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light, and you're now listening to Dark Wolf's Den.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness, this is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live worldwide from high atop the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains, ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have the most special show yet. They just keep getting better, don't they, ladies and gentlemen? Tonight, I cannot believe the fact we've got a very special guest. My friend, you guys love her and know her, ladies and gentlemen. Chick Mandela Effect is here tonight. We'll be connecting with her in just a couple minutes here. Let's hope everything works together the right way and we're able to pull this off, ladies and gentlemen. That is tonight, Wednesday, December 30th, 2020, on the Dark Wolf's Den Show. But first, today in history. That's right, guys. On this day in 1924, astronomer Edwin Hubble formally announces the existence of other galactic systems. He did this at a meeting of the American Astronomical Society. That's right. They found out that there was more than just us out there on this day in 1924. And that's today's Today in History. I'm just waiting till the day that I get the honor and the pleasure of announcing the breaking news on the air that alien life has been found elsewhere in the universe. That would be such an amazing thing to announce. Like, I can't wait for the breaking news. And guys, you think that sounds a little far-fetched. We might get it sooner than we think. That's right. There is a new article out that suggests that perhaps in Proxima Centauri, they may have found the signatures, technosignature actually, of life. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am not joking. I am dead serious. The Proxima Centauri system. That's right. I would just love to have to do a breaking news segment about new life found in the universe. Speaking of new, we've got a new thing we've never done here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to try to go over to the Zoom room where we got Chick waiting on us, and we're going to see if she's back there. And if she is, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have oh my God, the most incredible conversation ever. I'm sure. I am so excited. I hope you guys are. Well, so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if we can bring her on. Give me just a second. When we were testing this earlier, I was told the audio sounded a little funny, so if it does, it's because of the Zoom connection in through to the radio, and yeah, I'm not going to get all technical, but if it sounds a little funny, just know that's what's going on. Is this the funny connection between Zoom and our broadcasting software? So give me just a moment, guys. Like I said, I'm going to go over here to Zoom. We've never really tried this before, so bear with us. And we'll be right back here with Chick in just a second.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown.
And we have, ladies and gentlemen, with us the one, the only Chick Mandela Effect. Thank you so much for being here, Chick. I really very much appreciate it. You are my first guest ever on this show.
Woo! Thank you for that honor. First guest. Woo!
It's an honor to have you here. We are old friends, you and I. We go back, what, 3 years now?
Yeah, at least.
We used to do a lot of Mandela Effect research, had a research team, the whole 9 yards there for a little while. But everybody knows you for the fact that you do our intro song at the beginning of the show, right?
Yep, and Michael Musco as well playing the instrumentation on that song, and I sing on it, and so it's purely like a Mandela Effect community project. Everyone was ME'd that worked on that song.
And completely bluegrass. That's one thing I love about it because, or grassroots, not bluegrass. Grassroots is what I meant to say. Completely grassroots because, this show is a grassroots show, and I love being able to find music like this that's grassroots, from the go. It's not copied or not, fresh, original music. I love being able to post that. How long have you been doing music?
I've been doing music quite a while, almost to the point I don't want to admit, but I started to get really into music around 2000.
Gotcha. And are you professionally trained, or did you just train yourself to sing, or how did that come about?
I did a whole bunch of different singing lessons, and I mixed different things together. So I did do opera singing, like around 2000, the vocal lessons that were available in my area was like opera stuff, so I started there. And then as like popular music, there were starting to be like more female singers and stuff getting famous, and I was trying to do the same things they were doing, so I looked into what teachers they had, and by looking into their teachers, I figured out I had a different voice type, and that's why it wasn't working, because I was like, I should be able to do everything the same because we're all girls. It's like, no, that's not how that works.
No, there's a large vocal range, and some people fall in and some fall out. I'm glad I don't fall at the top of that vocal range. I just put it like that. Nowhere near yours, but it's an absolutely wonderful and beautiful song. Everybody here absolutely raves about it every time it comes on. It's one of my all-time favorites. Now, you also are into Mandela Effect, right?
Yep. Very much so.
How long have you been studying and been getting in or had gotten into the Mandela Effect?
So, as I have mentioned way too many times on my channel, I experienced it before I knew what the term, like what the words for it were. So by the time it got to 2016, I knew what the words for it were. I had kind of a strange run-in with that where I experienced the effect in 2008, but I didn't know what it was called. And then in 2015, everything was normal for me, and that was the big year for a lot of people. A lot of people were like, oh, 2015 was crazy, For me,
that was the year I found the Mandela Effect, 2015.
Yeah, 2015 looked like it was off the hinges, like for most people, but I didn't experience any of that. Everything went crazy for me on election night 2016. When literally just everything changed, literally on that night. And I was like, okay, this is wild. Not just because everything has changed, but because it's changed to something I've seen before in 2008.
Well, let me ask you, say everything's changed. Like, what had changed at this point?
So at that point, and this is going to sound really wild to anybody that's just broaching the subject, but the reason why it wasn't ignorable was literally every single traffic light that I could find, not just in my local vicinity, but on every different news, like news clips from all over the world, everything, all of them were upside down all of a sudden for me. So the green light was always on top for me, and then all of a sudden it was the red light on top. The roads were different. Literally, my dentist office was on the other side of the freeway. There was an enormous amount of car crashes that day in my area, and I can't prove, obviously, that was because the roads were different, but I highly suspect that it's because all of a sudden the roads were different. All of a sudden things were not where they were supposed to be. I was like, this is very, very strange because nothing has changed in that dentist office. It wasn't moved. It wasn't rebuilt. It just literally is in a different location. I pull out the maps and I see Denmark and I get triggered all up and down the walls because in 2008, I saw a map of Europe. Unfortunately, America and South America were not on this map. That would have freaked me out completely, but it was just a map of Europe. And it was a very strange map of Europe, one I'd never seen in my life. I was like, okay, Denmark is all wrong. A couple of these countries are all wrong. Like the shape is all wrong, the location's all wrong.
Would you say it's more like the map that we have at current time opposed to what you had remembered?
That's exactly what I'm saying, that's why it was so weird. It was not just the map had changed, but it changed into the map I saw in 2008. So my thought was, I'm back here, wherever here is. And I'd never figured out what happened in 2008, as in I had just woken up one day and everything was different. And it was kind of the same with 2016. I just woke up one day and everything was different, but at least I had some kind of a frame of reference because I was like, okay, this is a different Denmark, but I've seen this before. And that was the one like really unique thing I think I was able to bring to the table, because for most people it was just, it changed and that was it, just once. So they were never, they were like, oh, did I see it wrong? Or, oh, was it, what's going on here? And I'm just like, no, I've seen this flip-flop.
In 2008, I believe, you had something happen with like a DVD or a CD, is that right?
I did.
Can you go ahead and tell us about that interesting experience?
Yeah, so I was literally talking to my friends. I was a student at the time. I was talking to my friends. They were a little bit younger than me, but we were into like the same kind of movies and music and things. And I was like, I have this movie that's really cool. It's from, I believe, 1994, Interview with a Vampire. There was this really cool, it's probably gone now, like video and DVD store. They still sold VHS tapes, and they had all these weird horror movies and things that like were so low budget you would never find anywhere else. So I was trying to get these other people interested. I was like, these low budget movies are so cool, and it's like independent artists and stuff. But I'm like, in this case,
low budgets, the B's and B minuses.
Yeah, all the B movies. I was like, you need to check this out. But I was like, I picked up this DVD, which is not a low budget at all. It's got Brad Pitt and everything. Like, it's a big deal. Tom Cruise, all kinds of everything.
And what was the name of this particular DVD that you had at that time picked up?
Interview with a Vampire.
Okay.
And so I started talking about it.
A vampire in your hand. You got it at the store. Go ahead.
I get it at the store. I bring it to my friends. So I hadn't gone to the store that day. I literally just still had it in my bag. So I'm talking to my friends. I'm like, I bought this, whatever it was, a few weeks ago, or no, maybe a week. I don't know why it was still in my bag, but it was. And I start talking about it, and I say Interview with a Vampire, and they keep correcting me and saying Interview with the Vampire. And I'm like, no, I just bought it. It's Interview with a Vampire. Maybe because you're younger than me, you're confused on this. I don't know. So I got to pull it out of my bag. And the cover says Interview with the Vampire. And then my immediate thought is, I've bought a fake. This is a rip-off DVD that I paid full price for. And I'm just like so annoyed in that moment.
Right. And this is back in the days when burning DVDs was just becoming a thing, right? Around 08?
Yeah, well, I was like, the label's very well printed. Like, I'd seen knockoff DVDs before, and usually the jacket, like the cover is not well done. This looked perfect. So I was like, what happened? And I paid way too much for this if it was a fake, you know what I mean? So...
And, of course, you didn't know at the time in 2008 really a vocabulary to lay that to, right?
Well, no, it didn't make any sense because I knew 100% it was called Interview with a Vampire because I'd also read the book by Anne Rice. Right. So I was like, there's no way that it's not that because I know it's that. It must be that you are confused. I'm saying this to my friends because... I'm like, so maybe somehow you're just not as familiar with the subject, or I don't know what's going on, but they were, but at the time I didn't know that literally all their lives it was called something different.
Right. They had always known it as the, wasn't even a question in their mind.
Exactly. They were correcting me and I couldn't understand why. I was just very confused in that moment.
So this was in
Because
2008.
this was in 2008, and I was like, I have the DVD, I have the proof, I'll pull it out, I'll show you the facts. And it's like, the DVD has changed. So I'm like, oh Lord, okay.
So after 2008, then, what, a couple years, maybe 5, 6 years, 7 years, you didn't really have any weird experiences at all then, or?
As in, nothing to do with the Mandela effect. There was definitely some paranormal stuff. I was interested in paranormal, and I had been around Mount Shasta, and people were talking about paranormal events going on around there. Like that kind of stuff was going on, but nothing to do with the ME. As in, things were where they were supposed to be on the map. Roads were where they were supposed to be. Buildings were where they were supposed to be. Nothing was moving around or jumping around or changing. Events didn't just suddenly happen and disappear. People didn't, famous people didn't die and then suddenly be knocked dead.
Right.
None of that was going on. No.
You said that you'd into paranormal events. How long had you been into paranormal before you found the Mandela effect?
The whole way along, pretty much. I'm gonna say since very early childhood.
Same here. I got into it at age 12. I'm about 28 years in, almost 30 years in paranormal research right now. So I'm right there with you. I love that. And I found that our community, the Mandela Effect community in general, tends to be a very well-educated, already well-studied community. Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree, and it makes sense because you need to have a pool of data to see things have changed.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. And when did it, okay, so after 2008, when was the next time you had a Mandela effect thing that stuck out and said, whoa, what's happening?
That was all 2016. Now, there is one weird thing that I think happened before 2008, but I was not sure about it, and that was I was paying more attention to like the US flags in the States and stuff around the Gore-Bush election because there was so much freak out then. And I would see like the news broadcasts and they would have the graphics like the flag and like, so there was two things. That was the stripe of the flag was red underneath the box where the stars are. It wasn't white. And then the location of Montana was, the location of Colorado was different. So that
different
was
as in how was it different from where it's located currently?
So for some people, and I know this is not what everybody remembers, for some people Colorado was on the Canadian border. It wasn't in the middle of the country.
Gotcha. I'll be honest with you, the whole west side of the country looks wrong to me. I live in the west side of the country, let's be clear, and it still looks really wrong to me, at least from what I kind of remember as a child. I can't tell you what's rearranged and moved or where the borders were different in my head, but it definitely doesn't look the same to me. How about you?
It doesn't. The shape of it is all wrong and the size of it is all wrong. As in for the entire country, it's like the East Coast has shrunk and it's dipping further south than I remember.
Right.
And the West Coast is, it's just like everything has gotten smaller and changed. And the reason why I mentioned Montana, I'm just checking now to make sure
Colorado
I'm not going crazy
Montana.
That Colorado was in the location of where eastern Montana is now.
Gotcha.
So that's where I remember it being above Wyoming, but now it's obviously below Wyoming. So, but I can't put a date on exactly when that happened, but I did find that weird, and it's something that other people have spoken about too. Apparently in some South Park episodes, Colorado is still on the border of Canada and they can just like take the bus to Canada and things like that. Now in the very first episode, very first season of South Park, which someone I know happened to be watching the other day, it shows a globe and it shows South America directly under North America, old school style.
Nice. I love that. Now you keep bringing up maps and globes. This seems to be, as I know, your forte in the Mandela effect. Would you agree with that?
I would. I every time it comes up, I feel deep regret that I didn't sit down and really memorize much better the maps. But I never thought they were going anywhere. I never thought they were going to change. So I didn't think that I needed to know every single thing. And now I'm so sad that I didn't put more time into it. So I just have the amount of memory that I have from, the normal amount of time studying it. But if I knew this was going to happen, I would have been looking at it every single day.
I think we all could agree with that statement, right?
I
We
would
would
have
have
had the
remembered
knowledge.
everything and anything we could have ever remembered, wouldn't we? But you made a statement to me one time that there's a reason that it's easier to spot map changes going forward. And what is your trick that you use to kind of spot the changes like in the countries and things like that on the map? You spot it pretty quickly and easily, don't you?
Like one of the quick ways to do it is shape recognition. So instead of getting too freaked out by saying, oh, I need to know the country and everything about the country and know its history, and that's awesome to know too. But if you can just shape recognition, what is the shape of it? Have a good look at that. And if it's a totally different shape next time, okay, yes, you've shifted.
You brought up Denmark a moment ago. And at the first Mandela Effect conference, Shane Robinson did a talk, and he had drawn a map, and he put the word love in every language on each country, respective to the language. And then when he pulled the map back out, Denmark is where it is currently now without any words, anything on it. Like he just totally accidentally missed that great big chunk right there, which I'm sorry, I know how artists work, and that I don't buy that, not even a little bit. So there's a lot of interesting residuals for things like the Denmark move.
Yes, and I find it I'm not against this realities version of Denmark, as in I'm like, this is interesting. It's way bigger. It's the Kingdom of Denmark. It owns all these different countries. Like it's got all of this stuff going on that never happened where I was from. And the Danish people themselves are different. Like I've seen interviews on YouTube where they're talking about, what countries do you love? And Denmark's talking about, oh, we love, these different European countries. And just, I was like, the people are different. The way they speak is different. Everything about this is different. It's really, really, really strange. This is not anything close to the Denmark that I knew.
Well, it really makes you wonder how they got over to England as easily as they did now, right? They had to go all the way around and back down, opposed to the Norwegians that just had to go straight down, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just like, some very interesting things going on there. But in all honesty, it's getting really strange with England too, how close it's getting to France.
Right. It's kind of like Australia's putting its nose upside Papua New Guinea, right?
It is. Australia's getting very strange too. And I mean, I don't mention as much, I probably showed, the shape of China is completely different. Like the coast of it is round, and it wasn't that way 2 years ago. It was much larger and it was square. But
Now,
all of Asia is changing.
China's come up a lot in the Mandela Effect changes, hasn't it? There was something about China in another country, if I remember right, that's different now as we were taught.
For me, anyways, one of the things that's different beside China is the Koreas. That's not where they were.
Well, what about Mongolia?
Oh yes, well, people have yelled at me for sure in the comments about that, and I'm like, it's not that I never heard of it. I know about Mongolia, I know about Genghis Khan, I know about all these things that they did. They did exist in the past, but they modern day did not exist where I was from. It just wasn't on the maps. It just wasn't there. So, and it is here, and they have all kinds of, there's all kinds of footage that never existed for me that's very interesting to look at about their TV shows and what they things they do, and I'm like, okay, this is wild, but sure.
Right, exactly. And now at the Mandela Effect, this is more than just like a passing hobby for you, right? This isn't just kind of a fascination for you, is it? It's more scientific and research stuff, right?
Definitely. It's trying to figure out if there are patterns and if there are particular times when these things occur and particular things that are connected to them. And something that we found through our research together was earthquakes and things like big earthquakes and big storms and the like would often happen just before a change.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of evidence that, of course, we connected that later to something else, which we'll get to, but there has been a lot of evidence of earth anomalies, like you said, earthquakes, volcanoes, larger things that have happened near or at times of shifts. Now, it's not every shift, right?
No, it's not everyone, but especially if there hasn't been one for a while, there tends to be an enormous earthquake or volcano somewhere, almost as if there's pressure building up and then it just blows and then there's a change.
Would you say with the recent Kilauea one going off in the last couple of days at the exact same time of that interesting Christmas star conjunction, would you say that could have been a possible shift time?
Yes, someone was just mentioning to me today, and I forget their name now, that the entire Milky Way is now in something called the Virgo cluster.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, okay, it's possible the whole show has moved. It's not just like something small is going on.
Getting further and further from Saggy, ain't we?
Oh my gosh. And before this shift, there was someone tagged me in an article about, and I don't like this story at all, but it's something they're talking about, the Sagittarius black hole, the black hole of where
Sagittarius A, yes.
Yeah, where it used to be. And then this other article about how we're moving closer and closer to the galactic center. And I'm like, yeah, from our point of view, we are, because the location of the Sagittarius Earth was on the outer, quite on the outer arms, not completely on the outer arm, but it was pretty far away from the center and the Orion arm, where we were at least before the Great Conjunction. We may be somewhere different now. It's quite close to the middle. So
maybe we got back to the Cygnus Orion, right?
Maybe. I want to check that right now. Where are we?
I do it all the time. I am serious. I've seen it give me 5 different answers easily.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And in our research, as we continued to go along and notice these correlations, we were actually able to correlate it to something else. Is that right?
Yes. So we had a pretty awesome pattern recognition discovery with the Schumann resonance. There was this particular wave sign signature that when it would show up, there was going to be a shift. And we even got it down to the point where I believe it was like every 2.5 weeks on the dot. It was like, yeah, a shift is coming. And that happened for a long, long time, like clockwork. It kept to that schedule. But the entire Schumann resonance is completely different now, as in the wave signs that we were seeing, especially before the conjunction, were almost like a ticking clock. Like there was a spike that almost looked like a second hand, just loads and loads and loads of uniform little spikes. Now it's been different since the conjunction, so I'm not sure what we're going to start seeing, but it may have reset the pattern that we're looking at.
So we looked at this, like she said, for a while, and we did months where we were predicting a shift every time we were hitting it, every time. The reason we know this, we wouldn't say, go out and say, hey guys, a shift is happening. We would sit back, look at the data together, and then listen to the community, and the community would definitely, come to us, hey, we've shifted, hey, there's been changes, hey, and they would verify it for us every time. Is that right?
Yeah, we got independent people to confirm that it had happened.
And then it all of a sudden stopped happening on schedule. And we never really did get a reason why. Of course, it's the Mandela Effect. Everything changes, right?
It does.
So I'll give you another little tidbit. I'm not sure if you know or not, Chick. Do you remember, I know you've been listening to our shows, and we really love the fact you listen to it and, are at the beginning and everything. We appreciate you for that. You've heard the Schumann resonance one we did, right?
I believe so. Let me have a look here and see if it's on
So
my
the date,
list
while you're
here.
looking that up, get an eye on the date there, because that is the day. The day we did that show is the day the Schumann resonance died. Remember that?
Oh yes, where it went black. It
Yes,
just
where
like blacked out. Yeah.
it dropped line for what, like 3 or 4 days?
Mm-hmm.
So it started the day I did the show on the Schumann resonance. And then
And
we
it's been
started getting
happening
funny
ever
patterns.
since.
Ever since we've had that funny wave pattern in the background, it looks like. Have you noticed that in the data?
Yeah, it's been very, very strange. As in, not just that we have the different wave pattern, but that it at times will just go completely black. Like it'll just blank out for random amounts of time, and then it'll come back.
And
And
those
it doesn't
black bars didn't start happening until 2019 when we were studying it for about a year at that point, right?
exactly. So even when it's like, oh, we think it's the machine or something, it's like, no, it's not the machine. This has not happened before, and it's been a very, very strange one.
We have seen some incredibly strange anomalies. I got to say that. There's another breakthrough we made with the help of SMQAI and peanut butter. Is that right?
Yes, I remember that when there
So
were.
before we get started with this, I do have to lay a warning out because this is worldwide radio. We are not medical professionals. What we are about to go into is not medical advice by any means. It should not be taken as such. Thank you for giving me that couple seconds there, Chick, to put that disclaimer out. Go ahead. What did we find in our research with SMQ's help?
We found that there were 2 different groups of affected people in 2 different parts of the world that I wasn't directly involved in this, but I looked at the data after it was collected, that agreed to do blood tests, like through, I believe it was before and after a couple of shifts, to see is there any change, like physically.
Well, let's back up just a little bit. Why did we need them to do the blood test? What sparked this off to give us the idea to even do this? The Butterfingers?
That's what I'm getting at there. Is the blood
Okay.
test showed that there was a drop in magnesium in a person's body after a shift. And it was
Right.
like, okay, there's some physical proof that something is happening. And that's when we're like, okay, peanuts, peanut butter, payday bars, whatever it is that you want to take, that'll help supplement your loss of magnesium if that's something you're going through.
Well, what had happened is SMQAI came to us, and he's like, man, I don't even like Butterfingers, but I cannot stop eating them for some reason. I'm just craving peanut butter. And, of course, yourself and I, if I'm mistaken, please correct me, we're both like, yeah, we can't get enough either for whatever reason. I'm a peanut butter nut anyway, so, you know. But for whatever reason, we were all craving this magnesium-enriched food, right?
Yeah. And
So from this craving, we decided perhaps it is magnesium, or, we theorized. And then we asked, like you said, we asked people on Reddit. We put out a post, hey, if you would like, could you submit your blood test data, especially if people like go to blood test all the time. Some people go to the doctor a lot more than you think they do, let me tell you, for those listening. But, they submitted their data, and we really, like she said, we found an amazing correlation in the fact that magnesium was the lowest point every time. Now, in America, a lot of people are magnesium deficient. I will give that, caveat. But with that said, that same interesting point was every time there would be a shift and we would get the data in, there would be a drop in magnesium at the time of the shift. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So from the correlations that we found, because correlation is not necessarily causation. I had a conversation with a friend of mine about that the other night. But we have found the causation that magnesium is lowered possibly by the shift, whatever that may be. And we have found that ourselves, if you will, taking magnesium supplements has really helped. And I've heard others in the community say that they've been beneficial to them. Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with that, as in people independently, did it and left me comments and said that they found it helpful. So.
And have you personally found any other oddities in your research that, just off the wall, maybe even I might even not know about,
Well, let me see. Oddities. What's pretty odd right now, just in the background, when I looked up about the where we are in the Milky Way, the little answer that Google is giving me right now is it's located in the first galactic quadrant at a distance of 3 kpc, about 10,000 ly from the galactic center. A simulation in 2011 suggested the Milky Way may have obtained its spiral arm structure as a result of repeated collisions with the Sagittarius dwarf elliptical galaxy. So we are a lot closer to the center, and there's all kinds of wild claims coming in from Google here, saying that this Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and it's part of a supercluster called Laniakea, Lani, Laniakea. I'm like, okay, this is a lot different than what I searched last week, but alrighty.
So what I find interesting there is you brought up the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy, right?
Yeah.
So I remember reading a article at one point or another that spoke about Earth was actually part of this galaxy at one point, and the Milky Way is like eating it. Have you read something about that?
Yeah, I've seen something about that before, and I'm just like, that's quite strange.
So the focal point where both meet is Earth.
And the supercluster, which you've heard of it before, this is the first I'm seeing it, borders another supercluster called Perseus Pisces. And the two pictures that they have here of Laniakea and Perseus Pisces literally look like two hemispheres of a brain beside each other. Very, very strange stuff going on.
Right, no doubt. Speaking of brains, body changes. You've actually experienced a lot of those. You have a lot of shift symptoms, don't you? You're hit a little harder with these shifts than most people. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think it's maybe so I can help when people, as in like, I believe, I don't have any proof, but maybe I feel it a bit so that I can reach out and say, hey, I'm feeling this way, to see if other people are feeling that way. And to my surprise, I will find large amounts of people that are affected have the exact same symptoms of me as I do at the exact same time, and it's different things.
And what kind of symptoms? I know you just said it's different things, but what, generally speaking, kind of symptoms are we talking about?
Well, I had a really, let me see, I had a really bad like pressure headache, and I didn't think much of it, and it wasn't really going away. And I got online and I said, oh, hang on, the cat's making some noise here. Stop, please.
We love cats around here. That's something else I found in the Mandela Effect community. A lot of cat lovers in the community, right?
Yes, that's true. We have a lot of people actually that have cats. I was going to say about the skull changes. So I was like live streaming. I was asking people, "Hey, has your head been sore for a while, and what's going on?" And I was like, "I'll just look at the anatomy and see if it's any different." The skull face had completely changed. The jaw was different, and I mean, for other people, it wasn't quite as extreme, but that change literally cracked a tooth for me, and it ended up like I ended up losing that tooth. Other people then came to me afterwards, said that they not only lost a tooth, but they'd lost this, like the same one in the same place. And I was surprised because I had 15 people tell me that.
That's kind of an inordinate amount to lose the exact same tooth at the exact same time. A little odd on the numbers there.
Yeah, the reason why I said it's not really affecting people is because usually, like, it'll be something to do with the stomach or the hands or something, and I'll have a lot more than 15 people. I'll have like a whole ton of comments. Like sometimes I might get, I don't know, 400 or 600 views, and I'd have a lot of people agreeing and saying, that's so weird, I have the exact same problem at the exact same time as you. But yes.
Sorry about that. I had a mute the mic and have a little coughing fit. They teach you that in radio. You mute when you cough. It's actually kind of like a golden rule, but I'm getting off topic. Back to the Mandela Effect real quick. So body changes, right? You've been experiencing these quite a bit. Have you noticed that I've seen a lot of your videos you've talked about that if there's a certain pain you're saying in an area or so, that you'll actually be able to correlate that with a recent change in the body? Has that been your experience?
That has been my experience, as in I'll be like, okay, this hurts, and I'll look up the anatomy, usually on a video, but sometimes, I mean, just, privately by myself, and I'll pretty much every single time will see that something has changed, and that it'll be something really strange. And I'm asking myself right now, even, because there's a lot more people showing up that have Bell's palsy. I'm like, I don't remember hearing Bell's palsy in the Sagittarius arm. So I had to look at Bell's palsy, and the holes that appeared in the skull, from my perspective, in about 2017, 2018, because there was different holes appearing at different times. And,
right.
What were they? The supraorbital ones and everything. They were just above the eyes, this kind of stuff. Well, here, the nerves for the face run through those little holes that are in the skull. And when the nerve becomes inflamed, the hole actually cuts into the nerve when the nerve swells up, and that's what causes Bell's palsy.
Causes the Bell's palsy.
That's what causes the Bell's palsy. So I was like, this is why I haven't heard of it before, because where I was from, we didn't have holes in the skull. The skull was shaped differently, everything, but we didn't have holes in it. So you weren't getting no Bell's palsy because there was no causes for Bell's palsy.
I remember hearing about this around
strange.
Probably 12-ish. No, not even that. Probably 2010-ish or so. And the reason is I had a girlfriend at the time who had an emergency gallbladder surgery, and after the surgery, she ended up with Bell's palsy. And we thought she had had some kind of crazy stroke. She was very young at the time. That's when I had first heard about it, and it's like you. I've heard known one person ever to have had it. Not to say that it, but the fact that there's so many more cases now, that does still back what you were saying with the fact that it could be anatomy changes. Let me throw this at you: history. We've seen a lot of history changes, right?
We've seen some wild history changes, yes.
So with the idea, we can touch on some of those here in a second. Some interesting ones we had some experiences with in the group, if you would like. But let me ask you this: the body changes. Nobody can figure out why the body changes, right? Nobody can put this together. And even I've been kind of stumped. But I just thought of something as we've been sitting here talking, a what-if scenario. So at some point, Neanderthal and Denisovan, that's the new one, and these different groups broke off, right?
Yeah.
Well, if there was a change in history, a change in mating between even two individuals from whatever two groups, would that possibly change the, down the line, continue to change the outcome of the human body, because it would have been a different genetic makeup in the beginning as the species was, you know what I'm going with this?
I do, and that's exactly what I was thinking at first. But unfortunately, this situation doesn't seem to run upon as much logic as it should. As in, if it's like, okay, this coastline is different, this historical event is different, your ancient ancestors are different because your body is now different. That means that different events should have occurred in people's lives, because if you change anything even by a little bit, it means that somebody missed the bus and didn't meet that person and didn't get married. And, it's supposed to cause all of these butterfly effect chain reactions that changes everything. And yet we have the same people born pretty much in most situations. We have kind of the same celebrities. Some of them, people say, I never heard of him or her before this year. For some people, it's like that person wasn't even famous where I'm from, but they've always been famous here. There are situations like that. There are some situations of like famous bands in the 80s and stuff that don't exist. I've had people contact me about that. Like some people didn't end up famous that were famous before. But it's for the most part, what I'm trying to say is there's way too much continuity of the same people being born, the same presidents of the United States, the same things happening. And it's like, okay, there should be way more chaos going on because there's way too many changes.
Because the further back you go, the larger the ripple when you get to this point in history.
Oh, yeah, because I'm like, if our ancient ancestors didn't meet up and met someone else, then why are we still here?
You know, that's a really fair and valid point. I give you that. I'm glad you've thought of this before, because I literally just thought of it. I really thought I'd come up with something, guys. She got me again. I love it. Chick, you are absolutely amazing. I really love having you here. We got to go ahead and take a quick break right here, and we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with the second half and more of Chick right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, the weekend has officially begun right here on the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Give yourselves a round of applause for being smart enough to be here. Hi everyone, it's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Are you enjoying the Dark Wolf's Den show up to this point? I know I am. I'm really enjoying this interview, and I take my top hats off to both Jerry Hicks and Chick for taking time to share it with us. Go ahead and put 100s in the chat room for tonight's special guest, Chick Mandela Effect. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. So, here's a look at your weekend ahead. Jerry Hicks and myself will join you tomorrow night as we ring in the new year of 2021 with a look at last year's predictions and take your predictions as well. We're going to do this live on air as we celebrate New Year's Eve tomorrow night, December 31st, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then immediately after the program, our VIP New Year's Eve party will begin in the Backstage Lounge. I'm looking forward. It's going to be a fantastic holiday evening. And then I'll return again Friday night for the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show as we discuss new ideas, start the new year right in creating fresh ideas for 2021. Join me January 1st, 2021. Boy, does that feel weird to say. Starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, we'll kick off the new year right. Then, Saturday, January 2nd, The Sleeping Prophet. That's right, come along with me on a journey down the rabbit hole of the life and work of the Sleeping Prophet. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. You won't want to miss Saturday, January 2nd, 2021. Then guess what? Sunday. That's right, the Fantastic Fun Show, the best interactive game show online. Who will take the throne and be the first to do so in 2021? Or will CSFL champion stay seated with the crown upon his head? Tune in live Sunday night, January 3rd, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, and find out. Hey, hop on over to the Ripon Rabbit Hole after the show where the conversation continues. Explore 2.0 and sign up for your Backstage Pass absolutely free. RiponRabbitHole.com. We'll return now to the Dark Wolf's Den show with special guest Chick right here on the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is Wednesday, December 30th, 2020, and we are having a very special conversation with a very special guest. That is, of course, Chick Mandela Effect, and we'll reconnect with her here in just a moment. But if you guys haven't already, make sure you pop over by the riponrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find a lot of fun stuff. And shout out to the guys, everybody listening live, guys and gals over on our radio player over there on the Listen Live on riponrabbithole.com. Shout out to Ripon, Wisconsin. Everybody over at Ripon, Wisconsin listen to us, as well as 26 other countries. And we're proud to have every last one of you guys along for the ride. Speaking of a wild ride, 2020 has definitely been a wild ride. I think we can all agree on that. And I was over here on the riponrabbithole.com, and there's this thing that's been trending for about a month now. And I cannot believe it. I've got to bring this up because when I first seen it, I thought it was satirical. But apparently this was posted about a year ago, and we should have known when this was posted that 2020 was going to be weird. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. AJ the Ripon Rabbit posted on here a picture of somebody with 4 toes, yes. And it is not the argument of the big toe being a toe or not. That's what I thought when I first seen this. I thought surely it couldn't be anything else. But I was wrong. It says perhaps the next great fad in 2020, the removal of the human pinky toe. Would this be hot or not? And it was a poll, and this was done about a year ago. So after a year of results, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to the riponrabbithole.com, RIPONRABBITHOLE.com, click on the, is it under the trending? It's either the trending or the popular. It might be the popular. Anyway, it's been on this list for like a month. And the poll after a year of this post being up is 24% say, yes, having 4 toes would be vogue in 2020. It would be a thing in 2020. Lord knows that would still be the less weird thing of 2020. And then 76% said, no, that is not a good idea. That would just be really, really weird. And I am with that 76%, guys. I got to say, that is really, really strange. But make sure you go on over to the Ripon Rabbit Hole and check out everything we got over there. We've got a brand new course to enroll in Ripon Rabbit Hole University. If you're interested, it is about motivation, and I'm sure all of us could use a little class in reinventing ourselves and the motivation that it takes to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of being motivated, let us waste no more time. And without further ado, let's get back to the person that you guys are actually here to hear from. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to go over here and reconnect with Chick in the Zoom room. So he said to click this, and then click here, and then... And welcome back, Chick. We really appreciate you being here for both halves of the show. I'm so glad you could stick around. In the first half, we were talking about all kind of craziness, from music to... Mandela effects and body changes, map changes. We've covered a lot, and we've only begun the conversation, I assure you. Welcome back, Chick. Thanks for being here with us again.
Thank you. I should have mentioned like some examples, because maybe it was a bit too loose to be like, well, some people were famous. An example from my life is Elon Musk wasn't famous where I was from. Maybe he never started his companies. Maybe he never left South Africa. Maybe he was never born. I have no idea, but I never, ever heard of the dude. And then when I woke up here, he was already famous and successful and money and, big deal, all this. And there were a couple of other celebrities too that weren't as famous. And actually Twitter was pretty much dead. No one was on Twitter, but here Twitter was popping. So a lot of like ME people got back on Twitter. It was like, okay, well, I thought Twitter had gone the way of MySpace.
Right.
R.I.P. to MySpace. We love the MySpace. But
the first and best social network there is. They didn't believe in censorship. We're not going to go there.
Well, they also let people customize their own page. So you were messing with coding, to make your own page really personal and really about yourself or your band or whatever it was that you were hosting on the page. And I was like, that was awesome. We're not allowed to do that now, even though it's way in the future. It's like, no, you can't do something that would be fun. You have to have all the pages exactly the same.
Well, I will tell you, if somebody were to create a social media network, and if they were to build it around all of the different types of networks, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all these different networks, if they were to build around this and make their own, like, one all-in-one where you could customize and everything like that, hint, anybody out there, that would be a great idea.
That would be a great idea, and I'd get my profile on there. I'd be like, yay, this would be awesome.
I'd sign up tomorrow. You spoke of Elon Musk a moment ago. I got to say, I hadn't heard of him before the last, 5-10 years, if that. Also, everybody I've ever known, and this is a mainstream, like, pop culture thing. I've seen this, like, on TV shows. They've mentioned it, stuff like that. Not that I watch that much TV, but they all mention, who was this guy? He come out of nowhere. Nobody ever heard of him before that 1 year. Then, pow! Maybe he's an alien, right?
Well, he certainly had some interesting talks with Joe Rogan about the simulation, and Joe Rogan's getting all triggered. He's like, this is base reality, though, right? This isn't a simulation, right? And Elon Musk is just, puffing away there. It's like, oh, I don't know. I think that this, I think Elon Musk's theorizing that this is not base reality, despite the fact that might freak out Joe Rogan.
I would say, according to Elon Musk anyway, that the chances of us being in base reality are like 1 billion to 1, right?
Like, yeah, and I'm just
according
like,
to him.
According to him, but I think it's interesting that he thinks that way, as in I don't see any kind of hints from the things that he says or the way that he acts that he's ever been where I'm from, but yet he still knows something is up.
Oh, I think he totally knows something's up. I think he's, honestly, I think his belief system would be closer to our type of community than the elite community he's in. I think he's a little more open-minded than his buddies will allow him to talk most of the time.
I think he probably knows, too, that as we've shifted into a different era of the simulation, apparently, that the wealth systems are going to change. And I think he's on top of that, too, because he's been tweeting a lot about altcoins and about, different ways of diversifying wealth. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm hearing from everybody, is that it's not going to be the old structure. It's going to be the decentralized mining. It's all connected up to technology and whatever other crazy stuff is going to happen. And I'm like, well, I don't really like that, but that's kind of the way it's going to go. As in the old paper route, sometimes some of the old stuff had a lot of freedom attached to it and the digital stuff doesn't, but the times are a-changing, so that's just how it goes.
I've got a stack of papers here that is basically trash that I've collected from my other job. That said, I do not want to see the pen and paper go the way of the dodo and the MySpace. I really don't. I hate to see digital, because digital can be wiped and erased in one shot. That's it. You spoke of simulation theory. Do you have any certain theories on the Mandela Effect, or are you kind of across different theories? Have you got any ideas as far as that goes?
When I first started to really dive in, I believe I made my channel in late 2016. I started to dive into my thoughts.
And that's on YouTube, right? Your channel?
Yeah. I thought that the Matrix idea or the simulation idea was pretty far out. And now, years down the line, I don't think so anymore, which has been a big shift in perspective for me. I think it's difficult to explain to people, because obviously not just you sound crazy pants, but if they haven't seen something else, there's nothing to compare it to. As like, from my personal perspective, the place that I came from before was very organic compared to this place here. The sun was yellow, for one, and it was very large. The skies were very, very, very high
the
up.
Yellow sun. I'll second that one.
The skies here are very low, and the sun is white. Like, to my eyes, the sun looks like an LED bulb. It's just really glaring and really harsh and white, like electrical light almost. I'm just like, this is crazy. But for people that have always been here, were born here, it's not crazy. It's totally normal. For me,
It
I'm
kind of
just
feels like a microwave. I've noticed this, and on the skin, it's almost like a tingling like we didn't have before. The yellow sun, I remember, and I know you remember too, it was a very convectionary warmth. You just warm the air around you. This seems to bite in the skin like microwaves almost. Have you had that experience, the tingly skin in the sun?
It's very strange. It's almost like little waves in your skin are like wobbling. You're like, yeah, I'm getting burned, I'm getting fried. Like, this hurts. Like, this is really strange. And it can be on one side of you too. Whereas, like, obviously, you could get burned on one side, you know, with our sun. If you were like sunbathing and only one side of you was facing the sun for a long time, yeah, sure, one side would get burned. But I'm talking about like walking down the street and feeling that tingly frying sensation more on one side of you than the other. I'm just like, this whole thing is very strange to me from my perspective. Again, I totally understand that that's not the case for everybody.
Right,
but,
of course. I promise you, in this community, in this show here, I assure you, you are in good company. We've got a great team here that's as open-minded as we are. That I promise you.
The other thing was, do you remember when you have your eyes closed and you'd be looking at the yellow sun? When you'd open them again, everything would look green.
Yes. Much brighter popping green. Yes. Absolutely.
That doesn't happen with this sun.
No.
Like, everything would look green, like, after I would open my eyes after having them closed at the sun for too long. I just have like so many fond memories of the sun, like my sun, where I'm from. I don't know what happened, man. I woke up, I got lost, got unstuck from time, ended up somewhere completely crazy. I don't know what happened. So all I do is just reach out to the other people that got unstuck from where they were supposed to be. And I'm just like, well, I'm here and we can speak about this for real. And that's at least something that we can do, because we didn't come in groups, unfortunately. It means that you came on your own and the people around you have no memory of what you're talking about. You're just like, I don't know, yellow sun. I don't know what you're talking about. That never happened for me. I'm like, okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, because here's something I've noticed reported a lot in the community myself. I've never had the experience, but have you had a doppelganger that's went ahead just before you, or things that you've noticed that possibly another you has done that you can't attribute to yourself?
Yes. And again, thankfully we're in good company, because this will sound really crazy pants too, but this is I've had literally going into stores. There's a CVS that was close to my old place. I moved now, but I knew the girls there that worked there. They were really nice. And they were like, were you just in here? I was like, no. Do you have a sister that like maybe looks like you? No. That's really strange. We just saw you in here. And I was like, okay, that is kind of a strange one. And then there was things like when I would close accounts or move accounts, I would sometimes get emails a month before or a month after saying I had just done it. And I was like, okay, me is kind of running ahead of me doing the same things, and other me is procrastinating a bit doing the same things. Because like with the same account, you can't be closing it 3 times, or you can't be moving things through, you know what I mean? Totally.
Right.
Things that cannot happen, weird stuff. I've talked before about due dates on bills being different every single month, and then I call them and I'm like, I can't handle this chaos, and they're like, it's always been on the same day for years. We don't know what you're talking about. I'm just like, what is going on? This is very, very strange. Thankfully, I haven't had what some people have had, where they've had money disappear out of their safe, because that would suck. But I've literally had people come to me and say I had like cash saved in my safe and a whole bunch of it is gone and nobody has touched it. It's not, I didn't get robbed. And I'm like, I know, because with some people who have their money in digital, they have a different total amount in their account than it's supposed to be. Some people have more and some people have less, but it's like noticeable.
Have you gained any monetary funds from the Mandela?
not only have I not gained monetary funds, but a couple of things that were very precious to me that were Christmas gifts have disappeared.
Oh no.
One of those things was a ring that had a lot of sentimental meaning, and it's just literally gone. And there's a couple of other things, like physical things that are just literally gone. And when that happens with, keys and socks, which I think happens to pretty much everybody, I think chaos theory could really be centered around socks, because everyone has socks that just go missing that are unexplainable. But usually for me, it didn't go outside of keys and socks until the ME really kicked off hard. And it's like, I don't have kids. I don't have anybody like go into my room. You know, when you have kids and lots of roommates, lots of chaos, or sisters that like go in and go through your drawers and lose stuff. I don't have anything. So it's just, there's nobody going into my stuff where anything would be borrowed or moved or changed or lost. Right. So it literally goes into chaotic theory of nobody has touched this since last time I touched it. Nothing has moved. It's not on the table of possibility that somebody was in here messing with anything. It's just literally disappeared. It's just gone.
That is pretty wild, I gotta say. I've had one item that I kept in a certain spot on my desk, same spot all the time. And as a matter of fact, I'm looking at it right now as we speak. It's in that spot. I had set it down one day, and I'd turn around, went to use the bathroom or something. And I turned back around to look, and it wasn't sitting there. I said, no. Well, maybe I just thought I set it down. Maybe it fell on the floor, and I started searching the floor and tore the entire backside here you see apart. Could not, of course, on the radio, guys, you can't see that. Your chick can see it. But the entire area I'm sitting in, I tore apart, could not find it. I took the desk. I took everything off, and I swept my arm across the desk. Anything on this desk would have hit the ground at this point anyway. I turned around after frustration, after picking everything back up and, setting it down on the desk. And again, I can't find the object I'm looking for. I turned around in frustration. I said, okay, can I please have it back? I turned back around, and no sooner than I get my back, turn back around, it's sitting right in the middle of the desk, right where it should have been the whole time. I would have knocked it off.
Yeah. And you're just like, if I tell anyone about this, they'll misunderstand and say, oh, you didn't see it, or
you just picked it back up and didn't realize it. No, I looked, it wasn't there. I turned, I looked, it was there. Mm-hmm. I can't explain that one.
Oh, absolutely. I have a occurrence that happened before 2008 that I didn't really attribute to the Mandela Effect. I just thought it was paranormal and completely wild. But I was, a latchkey kid, was coming home from school when, let me start at the beginning. In the morning before school began, I had a school uniform. I put my house key to get back home in my shirt pocket. I buttoned the pocket. I put the sweater on, whatever, the school sweater. I go have a normal school day, all good. Then I come home again, and I need the key to get back in my front door. And I look, and not only is there no key, there's no pocket on my shirt. There's no stitches of where a pocket should have been. There is no pocket. The pocket's gone, and the key is gone. And I have to I freaking rolled in a window. Thankfully, I was very small at the time, so I was able to fit into this very small window. But I was just like trying to explain to everybody, because they were like, you lost your key. I said, no, the pocket is gone. The pocket I put the key in is gone. The whole thing has disappeared. This shirt now is pocketless. It's like yellow, kind of cream-colored shirt. And of course, nobody understood. Nobody was able to hear what I was trying to say to them. They just thought that I lost the key, and that somehow I was just confused.
You're just confabulated. It's nothing like that can happen.
And that's not the last time that I've had pockets disappear, except it was closer to this era right now. I had this pair of pajama pants from Walmart, woo, and it had nice big pockets in it. Where it doesn't have pockets in it. And I didn't have anything precious in the pockets, thankfully, this time. But I know I was looking at some like ME video, like I was literally like my mind was on the effect, and I go to put my hands in my pockets and there are no pockets in my pajama pants.
Oh, wow.
So my hands just flop onto my sides. I'm just like, one of my favorite features, one of the only reasons I bought this was because it had huge pockets and there are no pockets.
Yeah, that kind of changes the things, doesn't it? That is really, little things like that. You kind of question, am I crazy? Is it me or is reality crazy, right?
Well, that's the thing, is like, especially if it's a garment you've had for years, and I did have those for years, you're like, not only do I know it, but I know that every time I wore it, I had my hands in my pockets, like balled into fists. It's like a habit thing. Like when I have pockets, I use them. So, and it's your hands themselves keep reaching for the pockets and slipping, like unconsciously. You're like,
By habit.
I'm supposed to have pockets. Like, what's going on? I keep flopping around like a fish because it's just all of a sudden there's no trace that there was ever pockets on it. But the seams are complete down both sides. It looks like it never had pockets. And I'm just like, this has happened to me a couple of times. Why can I never gain pockets? Why do I only lose them?
Losing pockets isn't good. I mean, it's better than losing money, as long as money isn't in the pocket, I guess. But yeah, losing pockets ain't exactly the best thing ever. And the Mandela Effect's a really weird thing. It changes reality. It changes the way you had. It moves your stuff. It's done a lot of craziness. But as long as you've been studying the Mandela Effect, have you noticed differences in people? And people people around you? Have you seen personalities just suddenly shift at shift times, or have you experienced anything like that?
Yes, I've seen all kinds of strange, different variations of people being different. One thing that is very strange is that here you can almost tell when you're just, I don't know what the right words would be, like vibing in a different frequency with someone. As in, like, you can be right on front of someone having a conversation, and for some reason there's like no overlap of energy. An example of this is I was talking to someone that was a musician. This was maybe like 6 months ago. And so we had plenty to talk about, music, whatever.
Oh, absolutely. A music person talking to another music person, that's days worth of conversation right there, right?
But it was really weird that I couldn't feel his presence at all, even though he was on front of me, and he couldn't hear me speak. As in, I was right beside him speaking loudly, but he just could not hear me. So I was repeating myself over and over. And I was just like trying to figure it out because I knew this person had like worked with people from the UK and everything. So I knew that the accent wasn't the issue because I don't have anywhere near as heavy an accent as some of the people he's worked with. But it was just so weird. It was like, I literally feel more presence from the lamp that's beside us than from you. It's almost like we're on a different page, even though we're on front of each other. How very, very strange. And how very strange that you cannot hear me no matter how much I speak to you. And it's not just tinnitus from playing shows, because he could talk to everyone else that was in the room, no problem. So I was just like, this is really strange.
Maybe he just thought you were too pretty and just couldn't get his tongue to work right.
Maybe I'll just tell myself that. There we go. But like, I'm trying not to be mean, but the thing that I did notice in 2008 was everyone was so unfriendly. It wasn't just that the maps were different and that the interview with a vampire had changed and all this, the Denmark and all this crazy stuff. But I was just like, why is everyone in a bad mood today? Everyone's so unfriendly. And then when I came back here in 2016, I felt the same way. I'm just like, people are not as, we have some kind of social or cultural differences on a earth to earth scale, not a country to country scale, where it's just like people are different here. They're more reserved. They're not as friendly.
Let me stop you right there, if I may. Now, you speak about not being as friendly. I have noticed myself that you'll be talking to somebody and there'll be full conversation, just regular like me and you are sitting here talking now. And then all of a sudden, say I bring up Mandela Effect, what normally happens in your experience? I'm not going to lead this. I want you to tell me what happens in your experience when you bring up the Mandela Effect to people, or the topic, when it's a regular, happy going, standard conversation.
I have like two distinct things that happen. One of them is the person is very interested and we talk about a few things and it's great. And 3 days later, they have no memory of the conversation, no memory that we ever talked about anything. It's just completely back to square one. They have no idea that ever happened. And the other distinct thing that happens is that people will get angry and they will say really strangely the same things word for word, things that don't make any sense
Like what?
as responses.
And I've heard these responses, and I know everybody in the chat room is about to go nuts and just start throwing the same things in because we've all heard this response. But can you verify and tell us what response that is?
Human memory doesn't really work, and that doesn't make you money. You need to focus on job, on the hustle, need to make money. What's the other one? Oh, well, it doesn't really matter anyway. Like, why is reality relevant to anything? This kind of attitude of like, why does it matter that everything is changing, or that you have definitive proof on front of me that something has changed? And then I'm sure you've come across this. You ask them, what is this thing? Like, oh, you remember the Monopoly man as a monocle? Yeah, I remember that. He doesn't. No, I never said I remember that. No, I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He does that. I was thinking of Mr. Peanut. Never mind.
Mr. Peanut, yeah, it was Mr. Peanut. Strange stuff, man. Strange stuff.
It is, and the fact that you bring a good point here, and I know everybody over in the chat room and everybody listening worldwide, if you are affected by the Mandela Effect and have tried to talk to somebody about it who has no clue what it is, of course, a newbie, if you will, I'm sure we've all got the exact same response. So what? Doesn't matter. Who cares? Why aren't you working? What's wrong with you? Why would you even think of something like that? So it's so small and trivial. Why would you care? I know we've all heard at least one of these, if not multiple of these, over and over and over again. And my favorite chick is, want to get some onion rings?
Yeah, that's gotta be your favorite.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go there, guys. That's if you know, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got another question from this chick here. You brought up the communication, the people that forget all of a sudden. And I was watching your video you just put out, and you were speaking of the current events, and I'm just gonna call it the situation at hand, for lack of a better term. All right.
Yeah.
So with the situation at hand, you've been talking to your family about this. Of course, they're overseas, right? They're in another country. Is that correct?
Yeah, and just without going into it, just very normal stuff, situation at hand that all kinds of people are talking about. Not crazy paranormal anything, right? And I was just like, it's so strange that every time I speak to them, they have no memory that we've had the conversation. Even though this is not about paranormal. This is not about any glitches or any weird stuff, which usually is what elicits this response, is when you're talking about something that's kind of strange, or it's normal, or sorry, it deviates away from the normal conversation. I'm like, this is super normal territory, big news stories, big normal stuff at hand. They have no idea what I'm talking about. As in, they're open to hearing the information. It's like, oh, that's the first time I'm hearing that. I'm so interested. In a genuine way, not in a patronizing way.
Right, of course.
But they have no idea that we talked about this and talked about this and talked about this and talked about this for months.
Every time they hear it from you is the first time they've heard it from you each time.
Yes.
And they're the same people.
Same people. And they have no idea what conversations we've been having. So I'm like, what is it from your perspective that you even are hearing when we talk, like all year long? What is it? You just have no idea what's going on, or you remember a different conversation, or like what's happening. And so many people responded to me and said they were having the same thing in their office or with people they knew, or when they would bring up big topics that are, like I said, in the normal arena that everyone's talking about.
The people topics that are across the news, and we've heard about all of 2020, the situation at hand.
yeah, the 2020 situation, people just, the normal people that they're speaking to, they have no memory of that they've had these conversations over and over and over. So I'm like, for some reason we remember, and the people that are native to this place, which we presume is the Orion Arm, so I call them like Orion people or Orionites, and it's more complicated than that because they're people who are affected who are from the original Orion Arm, but this is the new Orion Arm, whatever, and it's, I'm
it
not
gets
talking
a little
about the
confusing after a
affectees.
while. We can only go so many levels of Inception before we just get lost.
Yeah, so that's why just, when I say Orion people, I don't mean affected Orion people from the old Orion Arm. I mean, like the people that we're talking to. Yeah, the people that we're talking to here today, and how different it is that their experiences are than our experiences are, and what, asking questions like, why is it different? Why is there some blockage there with certain conversations we have? It's like they're not allowed to hear us, or that.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think it is that for some reason people get this weird personality glitch when we bring things up? Have you come up with any theories on that?
I have thought before, like when somebody is gaming and you interrupt them and they go into a rage, that it might be something like that, where they're just so immersed in what they're doing that if you interrupt them in a way that could possibly shatter the paradigm of what they're believing in or make them even question it, they will rudely refute you on that. It's because that's the energy you get, is how dare you? Like, you're disturbing me, you're getting in my space, how dare you? And instead of the reaction which you would expect, which is, oh, that's interesting, or oh, that's, I'm not really into the paranormal, but that's interesting. It's not like, oh, I'm bored. They'll just tell you need to be making money, or they'll freak out and be like, why are you bringing this up? Why is this a thing? I've literally had that from someone I went to the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, New York with. I brought up to them, hey, we went there together, and the Statue of Liberty isn't on Ellis Island anymore. And they freaked out and said, why does it matter? What does the truth matter anyway?
What does the truth matter anyway? Man, if that isn't the mantra of some of 2020,
There you go. And I'm just like, I am so confused, because especially when family members freak out and they say things like that, it's like, okay, well, I know that this isn't correct, because the people who taught me to value the truth and who taught me it was more important than anything else to fight for the truth no matter what was you. So if you never said that, and your personal view has always been the truth doesn't matter anyway, where did I learn everything my entire life?
Right, exactly. It's so hard to wrap your head around this, and we've barely even scratched the surface of the Mandela Effect, and we're running out of time, unfortunately. Chick, I have so very loved and appreciated you being here. Last thoughts on the Mandela Effect. Any last things you want to get out there?
Yeah, one of the things that's super important spiritually and kind of every otherwise here that wasn't the case in where I'm from, Ethiopia is really important here. They have the Ark of the Covenant. They have their own calendar that says that this is the real 2012, 2020, that the Gregorian calendar is wrong. They've also had all kinds of strange things. There's been 2 Italian-Ethiopian wars. Prisoners of wars were kept in Asianara, which is an island that's not too far from Italy, that's like a national park now, and it's got all kinds of like wild, backstory and all this kind of wild stuff going on. But I was like, if you don't think something weird is going on, just think to yourself, when did you ever hear of the Italo-Ethiopian wars? And there was 2 of them. And that, like I said, if anyone's interested in a really great rabbit hole, have a look at the Orion version of Ethiopia. There's all kinds of strange stuff going on. And I think that this probably is the real 2012, and that's why it's so weird, and the shifting and all the, not just shifting in the way we understand it, but changes that people on every level of normality or every level of reality can see now. No matter how normal a life you were living, your life got weird this year.
I said we were done. I've got to ask one more question. I'm probably going to get in trouble going over. I do apologize, those guys at the network. I really just give me a couple more minutes. I got one more question. The age of Aquarius. You brought
Yes.
up the changing of the date and the difference in date. Do you think the age of Aquarius could be connected to the Mandela effect as far as the age of knowing, a difference mindset? And we've seen this difference in mindset across the last couple of years. Do you think it could be connected?
I do think so, because they say the age of Aquarius is the age of knowing, whereas the age of Pisces was the age of believing, and that also Aquarius doesn't have boundaries, which was an interesting one to me. So it's more that you end up where you resonate the most. So if there were walls between worlds, they're gone now. So that would explain why, people that don't belong here are here. Of course, many people will say, well, that's CERN, but, those are some endless rabbit holes there of
right
where you could end up and why.
Absolutely. And rabbit holes is what we do best over here at the Ripon Rabbit Hole. I tell you what, we cover a lot of different stuff. And man, I appreciate it, Chick, so much. You being my first guest here, I can't tell you, having a good friend like you on here is really an honor and a pleasure. Because like I said in the beginning, we go back a few years. Where would people find your work?
So I'm on Twitter at Chick Effect, and I'm usually very I'm there a lot. And then if you want to find my channel, on my Twitter page, it has the link there. Or if you put in Chick Mandela Effect to YouTube, I'm talking about a YouTube channel. That's probably the easiest way to find it. I don't make it too easy to find because I don't want tons of Orion people roaring that they don't understand. I kind of keep it just, it's open, it's public, but right. You have to literally search Chick Mandela Effect to find it.
And I'll tell you, if you put it in Chick Mandela, it will come up. You ain't got to put the effect on the end. I tested it earlier to try to find it. It will come up. I can guarantee that. Before we go here, I got a request for you, Chick.
Sure.
Are you going to be doing any more unique music?
Yes, I very much hope so. Very much hope to be putting out more music.
Well,
this year.
I request that at some point, if you would, make us another song for the show. I would absolutely play it, and I would love to have the ability to do that. Another song by you on here.
For sure. Hopefully I'll write something decent this year, and I can be like, hey, Wolfie, do you like this? What do you think?
Maybe we can collaborate on some stuff. Maybe you and I, we haven't really hung out in few months, about a year now since the craziness started, but maybe we can start hanging out again and collaborate. I would absolutely love to do that.
Awesomeness. We can come up with something. I'm sure I really would love to do some more music. It's very therapeutic. So anyone that is a musician, maybe try and do some more music again. It might help how you're feeling this year.
It very well may. And what a wonderful note to end on. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, my good buddy, you know her, you love her, the artist that does Wonderland, ladies and gentlemen, Chick Mandela Effect, or Chick Effect. Thank you so much for being here, Chick. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My honor and pleasure. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen, Chick Mandela Effect. That's right. And we got to close it out. That's right. That's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the day may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. Can you believe there's only one day left in this entire year? Man, I thought 2020 was never going to end. Then again, I know it's been a rough one for you guys, but this has been an absolutely crazy and incredible year for me, I gotta say. But we're going to go over a lot of that and more tomorrow night as we make our New Year's predictions right here live on the air with AJ the Ripon Rabbit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get together and do a combination show for the first time ever for New Year's Eve. It'll be the second New Year's Eve show here on Ripon Common Sense Radio, and in true Art Bell style, it will be the New Year's prediction show. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in for that while you're waiting on that ball to drop. And then on Friday, January 1st, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ripon Rabbit kicks off the brand new year right with an all-new episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. This Friday, January 1st, he'll be talking about new ideas. That's right. We're always trying to come up with new ideas and new ways to inspire ourselves to think differently. And I'm sure AJ will go over a lot of those techniques on Friday, January 1st. Then on Saturday, January 2nd, AJ's going to tackle a topic that I absolutely love. You guys know that I've got a very special place in my heart for Edgar Casey, the Sleeping Prophet, and AJ, the Ripon Rabbit, on Saturday, January 2nd, we'll be going over the life and times of the great sleeping prophet, Edgar Casey. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to miss that episode, especially if you're intrigued by psychic phenomenon and the one and only world's sleeping prophet. Then on Sunday, January 3rd, is the most fun you can have on radio, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. It is the Fantastic Fun Show, the first one of the new year. I can only imagine the questions that are going to come up on this. Will CSFL champion hold his throne one more round and become a fourth-time champion? Or will My Life DIY knock him off the throne? Or perhaps Jerry the Dark Wolf will sneak in there and give them all a run for the money like he did last time. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to tune in Sunday, January 3rd to find out and take your chance at becoming the next Fantastic Fun King or Fantastic Fun Queen for the month of January. And that's going to round out the weekend here on Ripon Common Sense Radio. But the fun doesn't have to end here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no, the fun can only have just begun. That's right. Come on over to the RiponRabbitHole.com. That is RiponRabbitHole.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find all kind of awesomeness. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, first, make sure you sign up for our newsletter, first and foremost. Our newsletter goes out every Wednesday with all the shows we're going to have all weekend long. And you're going to be able to keep up with us and figure out which shows you want to make sure that you do not miss. Also, you can send this out to your friends, your family, and your family's friends, and make sure everybody knows about the amazing topics we got going on over here at the RiponRabbitHole.com. But that's not the only amazing thing about the RiponRabbitHole.com. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen, without you guys this year, we could not have made it as far as we have. And as appreciation, we have upgraded the site, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ripon Rabbit Hole 2.0. That's right. There's still some stuff in beta, but we would love for you guys to come help us test this out. That's right. Like, for instance, if the conversation is something that you want to carry on, you can always carry the conversation on down the rabbit hole. That's right. We've instituted a brand new social media site because we got tired of the censorship of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all the big boys. So we've created our own version of a social media network. That's right, because for the Ripon Rabbits, the conversation never ends. For you guys, the conversation ends here when the show ends. But for the Ripon Rabbits, they go down the rabbit hole and continue carrying on as long as they would like. It is 24/7. You are more than welcome to come join us. We would love to have you over there. You will have to sign up for a absolutely free Backstage pass, and then you'll be able to join us on the new social network on the RiponRabbitHole.com. Also, while you're over there, make sure you drop by with your Backstage pass to the 24/7 lounge. There's always somebody hanging out back there, and it's always a blast to sit down and relax and converse with all of our friends, fans, and family back there. And we can get up to 50 people in the room, so after 50 you will go on a waiting list, but ladies and gentlemen, with 50 people it's always an amazing conversation. And that's only a beginning of the things that you can find over at the RiponRabbitHole.com. There's so much, I don't even have time to begin to explain all the amazing upgrades that the Ripon Rabbit has added to the Ripon Rabbit Hole 2.0. You guys are just going to have to go over there yourself and explore and have the time of your life. It is time to find your next favorite website, and this is it. RiponRabbitHole.com. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have got to get out of here because tomorrow night's New Year's, and we got to make sure we're ready to hang out with AJ the Ripon Rabbit live on air for the first New Year's Eve show with the Dark Wolf's Den, and the second one for Ripon Common Sense Radio. We cannot wait to see you guys hanging out with us tomorrow night, ringing in the new year. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, On behalf of Chick Mandela Effect, that we very much appreciate joining us tonight. Also, Michael Musco, Walt House, the entire Ripon Rabbit team, our Ripon Rabbit mod team over there in our chats. We very much appreciate you guys. On behalf of all of those folks and AJ the Ripon Rabbit, as well as everyone at Ripon Common Sense Radio, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How yeah.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a